Everyone talks about compound interest making you rich, but also almost no one talks about compound risk, the force that can quietly destroy your money. Einstein called compounding the eighth wonder of the world. But what if you're on the wrong side of it? Welcome to Valkyrie Simple Finance. My name is Gerard, and today we're going to be talking about compound interest, how it can make or break you. Albert Einstein reportedly said, "Compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it." The first part is that compound interest can make you a lot of money. The second part, that's compound risk. Compound risk is what happens when interest builds on interest. It works both ways. Earned interest builds on earned interest, and on the downside, losses build on top of losses. Let's, for a moment, just look at those losses. If you lose 50% of your money, you don't need 50% to recover. You now need 100%. This is where most people get it wrong. Think about this for a second. If you make 10% on $100, you now have $110. If you then lose 10%, you only have $99 left, not the 100 you started with. This is because 10% of 110 is 11. It's important to remember that as absolute numbers get bigger, the same percentage change is a bigger number in itself. 10% of 100 is 10. 10% of 200 is 20, and so it goes on. To understand how important compounding is, let's go back 1,000 years and tell a story. A Chinese sage presents the emperor with a gift, the game of chess. The emperor is impressed and asks, how can he reward the sage? The sage says, just place 1 grain of rice on the first square, then double it on the square after that, and double it on the next square, and so on. The emperor, thinking that the fool will end up with a few bags of rice, readily agrees to this. And at first, it looks small, insignificant. 1 grain of rice on square 1, 2 on square 2, 4 on square 3. That's no big deal. Squares 4, 5, and 6 have 8, 16, and 32, respectively. Square 10 has 512. Square 16 has 32,768, and we are only 1/4 of the way through. When we get to square 20, it's a little over 500,000. Halfway at square 32, it's over 2 million. Now the numbers are getting big. Bigger than the emperor first thought about when he agreed to that deal. In fact, by the time we get to square 64, it is over 18 quintillion grains of rice. That is 18 with 18 zeros after it. The emperor realized he can't pay. The amount is roughly 1,000 times the annual global wheat production, and would form a pile of rice as big as Mount Everest. That is the power of compounding. and why Einstein might have called it the eighth wonder of the world. Now, let's put it into a little bit more realistic. Instead of grains of rice, let's talk about compounding losses, bad investments, high risk rates, high interest. These forces work against you. Let's look at a real world example. Say you carry credit card debt at 20% interest, which is not unusual for a credit card. That doesn't grow slowly. It accelerates. Think about it. You borrow $1,000. If you paid 20% interest in the year, that means at the end of the year, you owe $1,200. Now, you pay 20% interest on that $1,200. And at the end of year 2, you now owe $1,440. After 5 years, you owe $2,488, nearly 2.5 times the amount that you originally borrowed. Now, many credit cards allow you to make a minimum payment of 5%. So say you pay that 5%. You still, at the end of the 5th year, owe more than twice what you originally borrowed, because you're paying interest on interest, and it grows fast. Now, there is a simple way of actually looking at this, and it's called the rule of 72. What you do is you take 72 and divide it by the interest rate, and that will give you the number of years or number of periods, depending on the interest period, the time it takes to double. So, if we take 72 and divide it by the interest, we will get the number of years it takes to repay, or the number of years it doubles. At 6%, the number doubles in 12 years. At 12%, the number doubles in 6 years. And at 20%, the number doubles in under 4 years. So if you're paying interest on a debt, the compounding effect can be very significant. At 20% interest, your debt will double in 4 years. That's not growth, that's destruction. Now, conversely, if you're earning interest or making a return on investment, the compounding effect is also significant. If you allow the investment to grow, taking the earnings each year and keeping them in there, the value of your investment will grow faster each year. The growth doesn't seem significant at first. Remember, the Chinese emperor saw that the first few squares on the chessboard only required a few grains of rice. But over time, it accelerates. Now, the average return on the stock market is considered to be about 7% per annum over the long term. At 7%, using the rule of 72, it will take 10.3 years for your investment to double in value. So, if you invest $1,000 on your 21st birthday and don't take any money out, just leave it there compounding, you will have an investment of $2,000 when you're 31, using the rule of 72, 10 years. Now, if that continues to grow until you retire at 65, you will have an investment worth over $16,000. So that's 16 times what you originally put in. Now, if you invest $1,000 on your 21st birthday and every subsequent birthday until you are 65, you could have an investment worth approximately $285,000 by the time you're 65. So remember, losses compound just like gains. Interest works for you if you're investing, and interest works against you if you're in debt. Time magnifies everything, good and bad. Remember, the rule of 72, the number of years it takes for that number to double based on the interest. If you understand compounding, you can build wealth. If you ignore it, you will pay for it. So start using it on your side. Pay down higher interest debt first and use the savings to earn. Thank you for watching. If you like the video, please click like and subscribe. Please comment on any additional videos that you would like to see made by Valkyrie Simple Finance. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video.